The positionality, their positionality, light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men, their positionality is the most dynamic of all groups in this hierarchy here, okay? They can occupy, they have the positionality and the privilege to occupy any position within this hierarchy, although their primary position is third, you know. In fact, they can even occupy no position at all in some cases. You know, because they have male privilege and light skin privilege, they can resist and push back against the hierarchy. And they can even undermine the hierarchy and even challenge the system of white supremacy better than any other group within this hierarchy, by the way. Also, y'all may not know this, but the white man, you know, the white man has psychological profiles on all groups in the black community. Okay, he knows about that the brown skinned, dark skinned men, the brown skinned, dark skinned women, the light skinned, mixed biracial men, and the mixed light skinned biracial women. He knows about, as far as having psychological profiles on each of those groups, he knows because we've been under their foot and still are under their foot, but we've been under their foot for centuries. So they know us. It may not seem like it, but they know. All right. So having that all in mind, who do you think that he sees as the bigger threat to him in his position? Dark-skinned, brown-skinned black men or light-skinned mixed biracial men? And, you know, the women are automatically out of the ranking because they're women. So it just comes down to the men. Which one do you think he sees as the bigger threat? Some people will say, well, you know, brown-skinned, dark-skinned men are seen as the bigger threat. You know, and on the surface, that does seem like it's true. But the thing is, he knows how to subdue that brown-skinned, dark-skinned man, though. He knows that. Because he knows that psychological profile he has. He knows how to deal with him. But the thing is, mixed, light-skinned, biracial men's psychological profile, I think that it's hard to pinpoint, right? I think that is probably the biggest hiccup for him. You know, like it throws a wrench into the whole system for him because, like I said, that X factor, that wild card factor, right? The dark horse factor, right? Notice that. And he knows that, you know, he wants that the white man subdues the brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, those brown-skinned, dark-skinned men will subdue the women of all shades in the community, and he'll try to subdue the light-skinned, mixed biracial men. He can trip them up, but he can't quite subdue him. Notice that. White men and brown-skinned, dark-skinned men cannot subdue light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men. They can trip them up. They can, right? They can sort of, you know, shake things up a little bit, but they can't quite subdue them like they can do with the women of all shades, right? And also, the white man, like the brown-skinned, dark-skinned white, the brown-skinned, dark-skinned man can deal with the white man. He can deal with him. He can, you know, promote some propaganda towards him. But when it comes to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men, that's a little more difficult. I mean, there is propaganda against the biracial, mixed, light-skinned dudes, but they can kind of maneuver that a bit better. It's like I know this is all kind of confusing, and this is a lot of information. My bad, but hang in there, okay? Hang in there. But what I'm saying is, white men know how to deal with brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, and brown-skinned, dark-skinned men know how to deal with white men. But both of those groups don't quite know how to deal with the light-skinned, mixed biracial men. They can trip them up, but they don't know how to subdue them. That's the X factor. Like that's the wild card X factor thing there. And they can't because of this weird, like, kind of like not quite here, not quite there situation where that light-skinned mixed biracial man can sort of like use his light-skinned privilege and male privilege to sort of maneuver through the system of white supremacy with ease, or more ease than any other black group, any other group within the hierarchy, right? As well, he can even maneuver through the hierarchy, right? Like he can be first position and come out of nowhere, like say Barack Obama, he wound up becoming the first black president, even though he's mixed, right? So he jumped in front of the brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, okay? And he got the top spot, right? And also, while doing that, he undermined white supremacy. So he undermined the hierarchy of colorism and the system of white supremacy, right? Heck, Colin Kaepernick even, like, he jumped in front of the line to become the face of black activism, and he's biracial, and he undermined white supremacy too, right? Heck, even like in like sports, like Muhammad Ali or Steph Curry, so you can kind of see how this, like, despite, I would say those are examples of light-skinned mixed and biracial men being in top rank. Being in bottom rank, an example would be desirability. Okay, I think light-skinned mixed and biracial men are the least desired in the community on average, And the thing is, when it comes to us, the colorism that we receive tends to be quite overt, more so than covert. The colorism that the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women receive is more overt, but it can be, well, it's more covert, but it can be overt at times too. But I think people are willing to pay the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women lip service. When it comes to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial dudes, there is no lip service. No one is saying, oh yeah, I like all shades, woo woo woo. Like, no, they'd be like, nah, I like brown skin, dark skin men, right? And then the dudes, they'd be like, y'all's feminine, right? Pushing that narrative, and then the females want to follow along with that too, right? So like this, desirability rank is probably fourth, right, in last place, right? While them having examples of them being able to jump that rank too, right? And then there's examples of them just leaving and going outside in the community to, do whatever, right? Thus removing themselves from the ranking altogether, right? Honestly, if you want to know if a person is truly colorist, see how they refer to light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men. Just observe. That'll show you if they're colorist, whether they are a, brown-skinned, dark-skinned man, a brown-skinned, dark-skinned female, or a light-skinned, mixed, or biracial female. See how they refer to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial man. That'll show if they're truly colorist or not. When it comes to the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women, they pay lip service, so it's a bit more difficult to clock that. And also, before I move on, I will say, taking all of this information into consideration, having all this information in mind, I honestly believe that if there is a, quote-unquote colorism messiah, I think the colorism messiah will most likely be a light-skinned, mixed, or biracial man, considering that they're in the best position to undermine and challenge the hierarchy, But at this point now, I'm just wondering, like, where the hell is this dude at? Shit.